I had to start building a community quickly because my family was all down south. And when I tell you everything I've been able to do, create, there were a group of people behind me and beside me.
All right, family, welcome to Bookmark Live at Black Writers Weekend. We are at the incredible venue powered by Black Writers Weekend in the Riverside Epicenter. We're thrilled to have Chianti Lomax here as we celebrate and uplift the voices and stories of Black writers. I am Talib Jasser. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you, Tyler?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good to see you.
You too. And I'm really excited to talk with you. I was able to sit in on your talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then I was like, oh, and I get to interview her too. That's awesome.
Oh, love that.
Yeah. So how does it feel to be speaking at Black Writers Weekend?
You know what? It feels really affirming, to be able to continue to spread the message of this book. This is my second out-of-state speaking engagement because I live in D.C. right now. Shout out to D.C., but I'm from South Carolina. So it just feels affirming that people want to hear the message about personal development and growth from a Black woman's perspective.
Absolutely. I love that. And what advice would you give to a writer just getting started on their journey?
Good question. My advice is either find a tribe of people who are also writers or find your one person that's your accountability partner. Because I found that when I was writing my book, it was a struggle just continuing. Like when you get to the very end is when you need the most support. So accountability and support is the first thing I would secure before you start your writing process.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of people don't reach for support, especially when we're creators. We isolate a lot.
Yeah, so, it's easy to do that because you want to stay tapped into your process, but that support is going to be a lifesaver for sure.
Yeah. Thank you I'm glad that's the first thing you said because it's so important. So Chianti, your book, Evolving While Black, addresses happiness and transformation.
Yeah.
What motivated you to write this book, and what do you hope readers will gain from it?
You know what motivated me? I think that so I'm originally from South Carolina. I grew up in the hood. I'm from the hood, single parent home. And I just remember the messaging that I got growing up was more centered around survival and resilience and just being resourceful, which are super important. But as I became an adult and tapped into womanhood, I realized there was a gap. I'm like, but what happens after I get the job? I start paying my bills. I did the basics. It's like, what's next? So this book focuses on what does it mean to start focusing your life on flourishing? What does it mean to, once you figure out the basics, lean into joy, happiness, and also like adventure from the Black perspective? And the reason why it's called Evolving While Black, because I know as Black people, we have a very unique life experience. So we have things that are very real threats to our livelihood. And also, we still want to have fun. We still want to have joy. And so this book is serving as a guide to help people who look like me and you say, even though we have very real threats to us like patriarchy or racism, we still can create our own pockets of healing, transformation, and happiness with some help. And that's the book's purpose.
Yeah, that's so important. And permission to do so.
Permission. Yeah. Because sometimes and I talk about this all the time with the women that I work with, sometimes you just need permission to uncover a part of yourself that's you've been kind of keeping hidden because you've had to focus on just surviving day to day. It's like the joy, you like, oh, I can have fun or be joyous. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So the permission to do that.
Absolutely. And recognizing, and this is a segue to my next question, that there is such a deliberate socialization to keep us outside of adventure and joy. And to be able to break free of that is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a certified mindset coach and leadership trainer, how do you integrate mindfulness and technology into your coaching methods?
I'm glad you asked that. So mindfulness is in the entire thread of my coaching methodology. So this is, I put my coaching in 3 blocks. The first block is the first thing you want to do is get curious with care. And that's where the mindfulness comes in. It's like, I want to be present in my life. I don't want to be a passive person. I want to be an active participant in my life. And mindfulness helps me to start thinking about what's happening right now in the present moment. What emotions am I experiencing? What are my thoughts? And becoming friends with those thoughts. So that's the first part. The second part is breaking up with your blockers. So blockers might look like limiting belief systems that were given to us from your church, your parents, or people you grew up around. And sometimes to break up with those blockers, it might look like blocking a phone number. So the technology comes in we live in a tech world. So what technology can I use to empower me? Like whether it's a meditation app, and what technology can I use to protect me? Whether it's using that block function on your iPhone, right? And then the final part is cultivating a community, because once you create these tools and tap into these tools that will allow you to thrive, you need people that will hold you accountable to this joy that you're creating.
I love that.
Yeah.
What inspired you to found the Happy Pop-Up, and what impact do you hope it has on mental health conversations in communities of color?
The Happy Pop-Up. Oh, I'm glad you brought it up. That makes me excited. People don't ask me that question. So when I was on my coaching journey, I was studying the science of positive psychology, which is, in simple words, is the study of what allows us to thrive and flourish as human beings. And is made up of a few pillars: is positivity, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement. And as a part of my program that I went through, you had to do a capstone. And in that program, I was the only Black woman in there. And I'm talking about, I'm in that program crying and snot, and at the end of it, it was very therapeutic. And I was like, oh my God, like my capstone has to be something that gives back to Black and brown people who look like me, because some of these things, I don't think we know that they exist. And if they exist, the messenger is wrong. We don't want to hear from a 76-year-old white man about science and evidence-based tools. So I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take positive psychology, or I just call it the science of happiness, and make it accessible, make it fun, relevant, make it dope. You know, it's going to feel good to you, and it's going to be a 3-hour experience. So I decided to create an event that focuses on the science of happiness for Black and brown people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. How do you define rough draft living, and how can it help individuals overcome their fear of perfection?
Oh, you did your homework.
I did do my
rough
homework.
draft living. Rough draft living came from this idea that you don't have to be perfect to have happiness and joy in your life. And so I consider myself an early adopter. I like to experiment with life. And so you have to know that when you're creating a life that you want to love, you're not going to get everything right. You just have to test it out. And rough draft living is having the audacity to test out ways that you want to live, who you want to be, without feeling like you can't fail. And it's okay to fail, whether you're creating something new, you're working on a project, putting things out into the world without feeling like it has to be perfect, putting yourself into the world, into the light, without feeling like you have to be perfect, because perfection is overrated. And if anybody says they perfect, they lying, they're not Jesus. So.
Got it. Gratitude is
Yeah.
a central theme in your teachings.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a personal story about how practicing gratitude has transformed your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, gratitude is something that I lean into every single day, because people believe just because I teach on happiness and joy that I'm beaming rainbows and sunshines all the time. Like I'm having happy days every day. It's not true. So gratitude is literally the easiest way to create upward spirals, meaning to instantly give yourself a mood boost or a positive boost. And so literally gratitude for me looks like waking up in the morning. If I'm feeling a little blah, I might write down 10 things that I'm grateful for today. If that don't work, I'm like, okay, I do something called future gratitude. So I write down, let's say, for example, for this event, my future gratitude was, I am so grateful that Black Writers Weekend went amazingly well, and I met 2 to 3 people who said I impacted their lives just for the time I was on the stage. So thinking forward about how I'm going to impact people and feeling grateful for that instantly boosts my mood. And thinking about presently what I'm grateful for, whether it's being a homeowner or having time freedom, it really just makes me feel good about the direction that I'm going in my life.
Yeah. It's something to be said about being intentional about being an alchemist in your own life and experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it is something that we are capable of doing, but
Yeah.
again, we've been deliberately, socializing and not believing that. So I definitely respect the work that you're doing
Thank
and
you.
appreciate it for sure. And something that you said earlier that we really want to impress upon people is the role that community does play.
Yes.
In personal transformation and mental health. What was that? How's that been for your experience?
It's been everything for me. So I moved to DC in 2006, fresh out of college. I'm aging myself, but literally fresh out of college, and I had to start building a community quickly because my family was all down south. And when I tell you everything I've been able to do, create, there were a group of people behind me and beside me. And the most significant example of community was recently, and I put it in the book. I talk about a lot of things. Something that's very prevalent right now with Black women is this epidemic of fibroids. So I recently had fibroid surgery, and my nuclear family is very small, so they couldn't come up to support me. So I told my friends, I reached out, I said, hey y'all, I got this fibroid surgery coming up. I need somebody to drive me. I need people to take care of me when I come back. Literally, I had a friend drive down from New York City to be there with me when I woke up. The day before my surgery, there were like 30 people on a prayer call, like praying over me. And then my best friend from elementary school, she created a meal train. So literally for 2 weeks, I had people dropping off food. So it's like community is everything. And I think even though I talk about like we have to we have to start thinking about future forward ways in terms of like our growth and development, I think one thing we could take from our ancestors and our parents and grandparents is this idea of community, because when I grew up, community was super important. And Miss Lynn was going to tell your mama who was inside her house, who was not outside her house, she was going to feed you. And I think that's something that has been a thread of like just nurturing for Black people and just people who look like us. So.
Yeah, absolutely. What impact do you hope Evolving While Black will have on the broader conversation about mental health and happiness?
I hope that my hope for this book is that it gives somebody permission to release themselves from the idea that they have to be superhuman. I hope that it gives people permission to give themselves a little bit more grace, to say no as a complete sentence. I hope that it releases people from the idea that you have to uphold belief systems about what your life should look like and like work yourself, hustle to the bone to where you have nothing left, so that you can actually create space for yourself to have more peace of mind, to be more mindful, and to take better care of yourself without thinking that you have to carry everybody on your back. I think a lot of the mental health issues we deal with come from trying to be somebody or trying to be the one to carry the family, trying to be the one that's dependable. And it's like, you don't have to be dependable. You don't have to be that person all the time. Give yourself a break.
Yeah, and I think one of the central themes in your work, and especially you're a person, you for me, in the short time that I've talked to you, you're personifying this idea of mattering, right? Mattering to yourself, mattering to others, that people, you call on people and they're going to show up for you.
Absolutely.
You put out a book and people are going to read it and pay attention and as a coach and all that. And that's something that I know as individuals and as community, sometimes that mattering conversation gets in the way of so much. And so I really, really love the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to sharing the book with the women in my life, but also it's important. It's important for myself as well.
Yeah. I had that conversation when I did my book launch. The book came out in May, and someone in the audience asked me, do you think your book is solely for Black women? I said, no. The perspective of the book is from a Black woman because I'm a Black woman. So you're going to get my personal stories, which was important to me because I feel like storytelling immediately helps people to connect with you as a writer. But I said the gems, the tools, the evidence-based tools are gender neutral. Anybody can pick them up and apply it to their lives on a daily basis. So I think it's for everybody, not just Black women.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been great, really great talking to you.
Thank you.
I feel very inspired by this conversation, and truly,
Thank you.
I do. So please tell people where they can find you online and get the book.
Yeah, so I am Chianti Lomax everywhere, Chianti, Chianti Lomax, Lomax, on Instagram, all of social media. You can buy the book wherever you purchase books online. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any small. I just found a local bookstore in Connors, Georgia that's carrying my books. So anywhere you buy books is where you can find Evolving While Black.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to close this out. Thank you to our amazing sponsors and partners, Afros and Audio, Ike Ocean, Amazon KDP, All Americans Vote, Delphine Legacy Media, and Riverside Epicenter. Your support makes this event possible. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Black Writers Weekend and join the conversation using the hashtag BWW Bookmarked on social. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your weekend.